Because what I want to do is always please Him. In over 50 years of preaching, I've never, ever preached to entertain anybody. I've never tried to make it sweet and delicious and good so you say, I really enjoyed it. No, 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 no. I wanted you to make a change. I want you to see what is and say, I got to do better. Come with me now to the Gospel according to St. Mark, chapter 8, verse 33. St. Mark, chapter 8, and look at verse 33. And if you don't have a Bible, it's on the wall. But when he had turned about and looked on his disciples, he rebuked Peter, saying, Get thee behind me, Satan, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but the things that be of men. Verse 34, and when he had called the people unto him with his disciples also, he said unto them, Whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. And 35, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. But whosoever shall lose his life for my name, for my sake, and the gospel, the same shall save it. I'm going to stop there, but the rest of the message, it goes through verse 38. You may be seated. I want to ask you a question. If not now, when? If not now, when? I'm running more and more into people whom are claiming that they're going to turn their life around for the Lord. But they got a few things they need to get straight. I never dare ask them to be specific in that acclamation because that's their business. But what I really want to say is that it's an excuse to not do right now what the Lord wants you to do. Be careful that Lucifer is not whispering in your ear and suggesting that you got time. I wonder how many people have died since yesterday whom had intent of doing better tomorrow. But for them, tomorrow was not on the agenda. I wonder what people had made up in their mind that in the month of January 2023, they're going to have a new beginning. I want you to take note of how the story opens in that 33rd verse. Said, for whosoever shall save his life shall lose it. But whosoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel, the same shall save it. Now, the way I read that and the way that I understand it is that either way, it looks like I'm losing. But I'd rather lose with God than lose without God. I'd rather have God on my side, saying that he held out to the very last, rather than to please man into believing that you're going to do better. Have you ever said to self, I'm going to do better in the year 2021 or 2022? or even 2023? How many times over the years have you made a proclamation and said to self, I'm going to change now? But because I've got news for you, you can't change without God helping you. How many promises have you made God and didn't keep it? How many times have you said unto God, if you just get me out of this mess, I won't do this no more? Only to discover that not only did you do that, and you did some more. You say that you love the Lord, but you only love him when the sun's shining. You don't seem to have patience with God when things are not going well, when they're talking about dismissing you from your job. When COVID came to your house, your address, and called you by your name, then you wanted to talk to the Lord. You hadn't prayed to him this year. But now that darkness is gathered around, death is standing at the door, undertaker already got your name on his list. Now you want to talk to the Lord. And my question is, why play with God? If you don't believe in him, stop pretending. If you're not sure, get off the road. Because I'm not going to play with God and pretend like I know him and then wind up calling on him for me to only hear him say, who are you? I mean, you kept telling me you were going to change, but I don't see a change. My brother Malav, and I said I wasn't going to say this in the sermon, but I need to. He's running for office for change, but isn't it strange that the people who else want to be in his position have the audacity to want to run him down in order for you to look at them up? If the only way I can look good is by putting you down, then there ain't much to see. I ought to be able to stand on my own legs. I ought to be able not to put my brother down, but let me tell you who I really am. I've been through the storm and the rain, but I made it. But now you're living in a society where a lot of politicians are looking to malign the name of somebody else. But if you scratch the surface, you'll see that everybody got something in the background. Don't get me to tell your story, because a lot of you know I know your story. One of the reasons I'm not a politician is because my mouth won't let me be quiet. I will look you straight in the eye and call a spade a spade. And I don't back down. Because Papa said, you got to learn to look a man in the eye and say what you mean and mean what you say. So they may not like you, but they'll always respect you. The scripture here, when I picked it up, whosoever shall whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it. But whosoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel, the same shall save it. In other words, I don't need to die and go to hell claiming that I love the Lord. Let me try that again. In other words, I need to speak truth out of my mouth. I need to admit when I'm wrong, ask for forgiveness when I make a mistake, and follow the Lord and stop making excuses why I didn't do what I promised I was going to do. You see, a lot of us, we like to make promises to God, but you don't worry about the consequences when you don't keep your word with God. You figure he'll forgive me. Don't play that game, you're going to lose. Because you ought to be able to do what you say and say what you mean. The scene talks about losing and saving your life. And a lot of people will go from church to church to church thinking you're going to find the perfect church. But I got news for you. The moment you join the church, it stopped being perfect. Because you wasn't perfect where you left from. And you're not going to be perfect where you're going to. If you're looking for the preacher to make you perfect, you're out of order. If you're looking for the church to make you perfect, you're still out of order. And what happens is there are a lot of people who want to go to church but live the same life they've been living all along. Am I coming down your road yet? You can't serve two masters. You're going to love one and you're going to hate the other. You'll leave one and cleave to the other. But you can't serve two masters. And yet a lot of church folks try to serve two masters. You want to serve the Lord on Sunday, but come Sunday night, you got a drink in your hand and you're dancing. Now, watch me. I didn't say that drinking was a sin. I didn't say that dancing was a sin. What I said was, you're trying to serve two masters. One time I was here, when I first came here 30-some years ago, and I was living at 149 Brunswick Avenue, there used to be a club right down here on the corner. Do y'all remember that? And a young man was in there, and he had promised me that he would never drink no more. He was going to try to, he was an alcoholic. He was going to try to live his life and straighten it up. And he called me and said, I said, promise me if you go in the liquor, in the club, you'll call me. He did. Reverend, I'm in here. Come sit here, Reverend. He waited till he got drunk before he called me, but he did call me. And I was ready for bed. I got up, I got dressed, I walked down there and walked in and sat down beside him. I said, hey, baby, how you doing? I'm all right, Reverend. I've had one too many. I said, no, we all right. Now, I wasn't worried about him like I was the one that leaned around him at the other end that was looking at me. Reverend, you can't be much of a preacher if you in here. You know me, I didn't make it no better. I leaned around the young man and I said, but aren't you in here? Yeah, but this is what I said, that's my point. I came to save him from what he's getting ready to do, but you judging me because I came in here where you ain't had no business. Isn't it strange how people want to judge you when they in the boat and they got a hole in the boat and it's sinking and they don't know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and they're judging you because people wait to find something on you. Now, don't rock y'all head, because some of y'all related to that gentleman. Y'all cousins, distant cousins. Because if you gossip about somebody, you're just as guilty as the one who first said it. If you repeat the gossip, you're just as guilty as whoever told you. And Peter, whom was close with Jesus, soon got his feelings hurt because the Lord wanted him to understand, get thee behind me. I mean, you got the right intention but the wrong purpose. I mean, you understand what's going on, but you're seeking to save your life. You know, isn't it strange how you'll call on the Lord when the boss is ready to fire you, but you'll go to the job rather than go to church? You'll go and spend your money at the liquor store than pay your tithes on Sunday morning. You'll play that lottery looking to hit that $1 billion rather than try to pay 10% of what God already blessed you with. I got news for you. You talk about each other like dogs and then tell them how much you love them. Larry, go get the car, baby. We're going to have to leave here quickly. Because I don't play Christian on Sunday, and then go Monday through Saturday and act like I don't know you. I don't talk behind your back to Tony and them and then tell you how much I love you. If I don't like you, you're going to know it. If I do like you, you're going to know that too. But I'm not wishy-washy. I'm not if and could be and should be and might be and ought to be. I am who I am. The other day I was driving, and mothers, you might want to put your fingers in your ears right here. Because the words that are about to come out are not all that churchy. And somebody cut me off. What the? Excuse me, Lord. I meant what I said, but excuse me. I shouldn't have said that. Lord, don't wash my mouth out with soap. I'm still dealing with the last bar of soap. Help me be who you really want me to be. I don't want to be a Christian on Sunday and a thug on Sunday night. I don't need part-time lovers who are only going to be with me while I'm riding high. I need to know where you're at when it's dark in my life and when issues have come upon me and I'm not doing too well to handle the situation and circumstance. As a matter of fact, before you judge me, pray for me. What the old folks said, ye that know the words of prayer, pray for me. And lately, how many times has it been that you went to bed because you were so tired from your day that when you woke up the next morning, you realized you didn't pray before you went to bed last night? I still pray a prayer. It's a little child's prayer, but it's sincere. It doesn't mean much. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord you know that. And if before I pray, y'all got the same grandmama, ain't you? Because what I learned to do is I don't take God for granted that I'm going to automatically get up tomorrow. Because I wonder how many people laid down last night with intent to come in church today, but they still laying there, waiting for somebody to come discover that they've died. I don't sing because I'm there to entertain you. The other day, I was doing a funeral, and they wanted me to sing. I thought, I can't sing prior to the sermon and give them the best I got. I can choose. And I chose not to sing. You know somebody showed it to me on the ribbon. I know, doggone it, that I was supposed to sing, but I was supposed to preach also. Tell me, which one should I have done? They walked off. I could tell they had an attitude, but they walked off. You see, I don't sing to entertain you. I sing to praise him. I don't preach to get you excited. I preach because he commanded that I do what I do. I don't go home and look down and say, I didn't give God all I got. I go home looking down saying, I want to humble myself before you, Lord. Thank you for another day's journey. Thank you that you gave me energy to be who I am. Thank you to help me to love folks that they think I don't know. They can't stand me. Do you know that I can tell, Reverend, I wants to make you a reverend, my love, but I'm sorry. But I've been calling him reverend yesterday and today, but anyway, I can tell when I shake somebody's hand whether it's genuine or not. I can tell when I hug them as to whether that's the real hug or is that little pat on the back. Peter had it in his head that since I'm with him, I got it going on. But I want to say to you, be careful with that analysis because you can be with him but not of him. You can know his name but not know his purpose. You can know Jesus but not know Jesus. Y'all ain't catching on here. What I'm trying to tell you is don't look the part, live the part. I don't get up in the morning, start begging God to watch me as I go out through the city. No. I asked him that last night. Well, what you going to say to thank you that you got me up one more time? Thank you that you've given me another opportunity to see a brand new day. Thank you that in spite of me, you saved me one more time. Has the Lord ever saved you from you? Now, anybody who didn't get that, raise your hand. The Lord numerous times has saved me from me. Because there have been some times I wanted to tell you, ooh-wee, I had a word for you. And the Lord said, I wish you would. You don't have that right, John Harris, to judge anybody. That's my job. Every head need to be bowed. Every mouth ought to be confessing about where the Lord have brought you from. Is it anybody here can claim that you don't owe God an apology? Is it anyone here can ever say that you've lived the whole day and never sinned? I'll wait. Go ahead. Think about it. A whole day, not an hour or two, a week or two, just one day. And you know that you've been perfect that day. You didn't have a bad thought. You didn't have a mean thought. You didn't try to be slick trickster. You didn't walk with your head down like you wasn't guilty of nothing. Anybody here, you lived a whole 24 hours without sinning. I just want one. Come on, don't be scared. I mean, you've been bragging that you are saved by the Spirit of the Lord. You got all that. Now brag now. You in the Lord's house. Tell him how good you really are. And what I wind up doing is, Lord, thank you that you brought me another day's journey. Thank you, Lord, that you've opened my eyes to see me whom I really am. Thank you that you didn't take my life before another day has come and gone. Thank you, Lord, that I didn't hit somebody that I wanted to hit. Ooh, did I come down your street, Larry? I'm picking at my friend over there. Because if it wasn't for the grace of God, there go I. And so I want to ask you another question that's very, very important to me now. If not now, when? What are you waiting for God to do? And I'm looking at what's going on in the political realm, and I'm understanding what they said. They're going to change this, and that has to change, and we can do this. And so in other words, what God said initially, you're saying, to hell with God. I'm grown. I do what I want to do. You didn't say it, but your actions speak louder than your words. When you start trying to rearrange the church and try to predetermine how things ought to be because you don't like it the way it is, I might shouldn't have gone there. Save me, Lord. Up there on the monitor, take me to verse 36 so I can get out of here. For what shall it profit a man if he should gain the, how much? Most of it? Near about all of it? And, that word and is a conjunction. It hooks what was to what is. In other words, I can gain the profits of the world, but it might cost me my soul. Which is more important to me, profit, soul? You see, when you go to hell, you can't spend a 20 in hell. You can't even spend $1 million in hell because there's nothing to buy in hell. And you can't buy anything in heaven. So what profited a man to gain the whole world? Trump, I wish you'd come look at this today while you're being stupid. Look at this preacher. It doesn't matter how much I've got, but it does matter who got me. It doesn't matter whom knows my name, but whom knows me on the inside. Who knows what I really want to do. Because I can tell you anything, but he can look beyond my fault and see my needs. You come in here and you feel guilty and you say, I'm going to do better, and you leave out and you go do the same thing. You don't change at all. You know why? Because we never ask God, help me to be who you want me to be. Because if you don't help me, God, I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing. If you don't step in every day, every hour, every minute, I'm just going to keep on doing it. I know better, but I can't do better. I try, I intend to, but next Sunday I'm gonna join the church and I'm gonna walk right. But you haven't walked right since you joined the other church. Matter of fact, you haven't walked right since you joined this church. You keep depending on God's grace. And I do know the verse said grace is sufficient. But I'm not going to rely strictly on his grace. I need to make every effort possible that I can do what he wants me to do, so that when it's come time for me to stand before him, I don't have to be shaky. I need to stand there and say, but your son said, if I confess with my mouth and believe in my heart, thou almost, near about, could be, shall be saved. So I'm going to be saved not because of my righteousness, but because of the righteousness of the one and only true and living God. Whenever I study, I'm always trying to find something I didn't see before. And here I picked this up, Jerry. I'm not going to talk, just me and you. Just hold on. When Jesus was in glory, watch me, and God had determined he needed somebody to come to earth and save man from man. Nobody, go back and read it. Nobody volunteered. Not one angel or whomever else was already there in glory, nobody volunteered but one. Now here comes that just jumped out. That made me want to holler and run out the house. But then I picked up something else. Jesus says unto the Father, watch, stay with me. He didn't have it, he had to ask for it. Prepare me a body. He didn't have a body to come down in. God had to make a special body for him that could be put into Mary, who had never known a man. She's a virgin, and that seed had to lay inside of Miss Mary and just behave itself until the Lord blessed him with the sperm to make him become who he's supposed to be. And when he arrived, he was already whom God wanted him to be. And when he arrived on the face of the earth, look what happened. The church folk, let's call them temple worshipers, started pointing their finger. I thought they wasn't married. Where? Oh, I knew. You know how you old women will say, I knew there was a cat on the line somewhere. Somebody did something. Because nobody else had no virgin birth. Hello. Boy, the gossip chain started running all over the town. And we're waiting on God to send us a deliverer, but we're going to tell God how to send a deliverer. Well, don't get mad with him. You tell him the same thing. Listen, God, I need you to give me, I need $10,000. I can't hit the lottery. I don't want to find it. I'm not going to steal it, God. Here's what I want you to do. I just want somebody to give me $10,000. And God said, right, I'm going to work that out for you. You can go to work, but you don't want to do that. You can borrow it, but then you have to pay it back. You don't want to do that. You just want, poof, and there's $10,000. No. You need to learn to earn what you have, and then you ain't got to worry about who's at your door. So now, here we find Mr. Peter. I jumped all the way from that story to this one where I am, who now wants to, how shall I say it, ride on Jesus' wings. But be careful, because if you get too close to the fire, you just might burn up. You got to learn how to walk before you learn how to run. And before you can run with Jesus, you got to at least get on the right road. But Jesus was saying, well, let me change it right there. The disciples said to you that your friend Lazarus, you said he's sleeping. Then if he's sleeping, then he doeth well. See how they mistook the story? And when Jesus realized they didn't understand, he just said, Lazarus is dead. See how we can flip a story to be what we want it to be? The Lord told me to go down to the bank and demand that they give me $10,000. He said, you have not because you asked not. See how you misread that?
Yes, sir.
You have not because you didn't understand what you read. You don't do fair with God, but you want God to do fair with you. You don't pay your tithes, but you want God to bless you with a new car, new house. Well, you got to work for it. No, well, I don't want to work. Just give me the house, God. No, God don't play like that. If not now, when do you change? If not now, when do you stop blaming God for your circumstance and situation? And sometimes God let those things happen to you so that worse things don't come your way. When I couldn't find my keys to the car, I'm already running late. And I just, Lord, look, please help me. I know I'm late. I've had the keys. Where are they? He said, look in your pocket. Well, I just spit dog out. And he didn't just make them pop in there. They was there all along. But you be so busy looking over what God's already done for you that you don't say thank you for what's already going your way. But here's the real blessing, and I'm going to get out of here because y'all ain't got nowhere to go, but I'm going to let you go where you ain't going. The real blessing is when I got the keys to the car, and I started the car, and I backed it out. Somebody said, boom! I forgot it, God. I picked it up. If I'd have had the keys when I wanted the key, I'd have backed right up in front of them, and they'd have run over me. So you knew stupid was stupid, so you made me not know where the keys were, so I'd get delayed coming out of the driveway. Be careful and stop looking at things that go negative. It's not always negative. He's saving you from you. When you can't do what you want to do, he's trying to help you overcome something that you don't see. Whenever you ask him for something and he don't give it, instead of complaining and say, why you didn't let me? Because he may holler down and say, because you're stupid, that's why. I'm trying to save you from you.
Yes, sir.
Wow. If not now, when? Verse 37. 2 verses I'm out here. Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? How much, my beloved brother, is your soul worth to you? Don't answer. How much, Mr. Deacon, is your soul worth to my brother? Don't answer, because he don't care. Mother, how much is the soul of the young women in the church that don't know half of what you know? Don't answer. Because they don't want to know what you know. They know everything already. But before you judge them, when you was them, that was you. Y'all gonna get mad right there, ain't you? How come y'all always so quick to judge the young? Stop being mad because you old and they just got here. Don't you know that the Lord gave you everything he's given them, and they're going to make the same mistakes you made if you don't take the time to try to help them overcome? And when they make the mistake, pick them back up. Stop stepping on them. If not now, when? Last verse. 38. Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous stop. Adulterous meaning you're sleeping with somebody else, and I'm your God. Be careful what God you sleep with. Be careful that you keep hopping from church to church to church looking for God, but God doesn't flip around. He's always in his house. He's not in a physical structure. He's in glory with angels down here reporting. Therefore shall be ashamed of me of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation. Of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he cometh in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. In other words, I keep waiting on God, but you keep doing the same thing. You want God to bless you, but you want to keep doing what you're doing. You can't have it both ways. You either love the Lord or you don't. And when you stumble and fall, stop making excuses. Just simply say, Lord, I've sinned. Have mercy on me, a sinner. Stop walking around like you don't stink. Yeah, you do. Because sin has a very bad odor to it. And I cannot serve two masters. Do you remember when you used to lie? I didn't say it. I've been a tattletale all my life. Reverend Johnson said, you still lie. Do you remember when you used to steal? When you don't tithe, that's stealing. Do you remember when you said, Lord, if you save me from this, I won't do it no more? One of my babies out there raised their hand. Oh, excuse me. One foot. Because there have been many times that I've said unto the Lord, if you get me out of this, you won't have to worry with me no more. But you don't know whether he, she, or them going to convince you to do something you ain't supposed to do. And when you do it, do you be ashamed? Ooh, I mean, didn't nobody say a word. Truth is, we always hang our head and we don't want nobody to know what we've done. But somehow Satan always got somebody. Remember the fella in the club the other night? Saw me walking there to help that drunkard some 35 years ago. And I'm there to help him come out, and they judging me for coming in. But they was in there with him and didn't help him with anything. And when he got straight, they were the very ones that offered him another drink. Christians, if not now, when? I'm not asking you to be perfect today, but I am asking you to get on the perfect road. I'm not trying to say that you ought to be able to walk on water, but you at least ought to know how to swim when you're in trouble. I'm asking you to do the best you can every day that you live so that when the day ends, you can acclaim to the Lord, I did the very best that I could. I made some mistakes, Lord. I'm not trying to get you to save me because of me. I need you to save me because of Jesus Christ, him who died on the cross that I might have the right to the tree of life. I need you to save me because I've got confidence in Jesus Christ. Holy Spirit, help me, for when I'm going in the wrong direction, don't let me continue in the way I'm going. Please touch my heart and my mind to remember where I used to be and where you brought me to where I am, and that this is just part of the journey. I'm on my way home to glory, but I'm not there yet. If not now, when do I turn around? When do I change my direction? When do I change my attitude? When do I confess to the people that it's his grace that keeps me? It's his grace that started me on my way. And when I was 14 years old, the Lord delivered me. But look at me now. Not only did it save me from me, but he got me trying to help save some more folks. In other words, I had to choose who I was going to serve, God or man. And if I'm going to serve God, then I got to serve man. What I'm trying to say unto you, Lucifer, is messing y'all up through the television and the TV programs and the music. and the wine and the drug. They got a drug for the man. When it don't work no more, take a pill. It'll work out for you. When things don't, yeah, he got it. See him smiling over there. For the woman, when things ain't working for her, take a drink. It's going to work for you. I'm here to tell you, if you want everything to work, trust God. He can make a way out of no way for you. If you want a new beginning, start all over again. But this is my 99th time. Try it one more time. It's not about how many times you start over. It's about how many times you stop. You got to make a decision. I can't let Satan take me to hell. If Satan could convince a third of the angels to leave heaven, do you think he's not working on you to leave the church? He'll let you see somebody else's faults and failures so that you'll lose faith in God. But before you judge them, take a look in the mirror and say, Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner. If not now, when? Not tomorrow. You may not get up. Shall we stand on our feet now as I give the invitation? Will you come? Will you make a decision today that you will change your life, that you want a new beginning? Even if your name is on the church roll, maybe you'll ask the Lord to give you strength to be a little bit better. Maybe you'll ask the Lord, help me see me as you see me, and that I ought to do better than I am. Deacon Williams, and I love him dearly, and he fussed at me this morning. He said, Pastor, you don't know how to slow down, do you? He said, I'm so sick of fussing at you. And I couldn't argue with Deacon Williams. He was so right. And I need to do better. But I don't know how much more time I got. And I'm trying to give you all I got so that you stop being afraid to die. What you're really telling me is you're afraid to live for the Lord. You're going to do it next week, but what if you don't get to next week? What if you don't get to next month? What if you don't see the new year 2023 come in? What if randomly somebody just stabbed you with a knife? They don't even know you, but their brain snapped on them as you passed by. They're blowing up electrical outfits all over South Carolina and North Carolina. People being without the power to have light and refrigerator and heat. But what about the person laying there on a heart monitor? What about the person that's there and the machine is pumping oxygen for them to breathe? You don't know what tomorrow gonna bring. Lord, I know what you're telling Lord. As soon as I straighten my life out, I'm gonna go to church and I'm gonna get things right. But what if you're called to glory before church? What if you're called to see the Lord while you're on your way to the church? If not now, when? I'm going to turn it over to my preachers to help us